hello, and welcome to another not episode of Hacker Public Radio. If you haven't listened to that podcast, check it out, but that's how I do my intros. Anyways, pretty exciting. I haven't done a whole lot of work with Jamboree in a while. It's been about 2 years since I posted the training video, so I'm going to probably heavily edit this, but I'm excited that I've got an SSL depinning to work with AI because I don't know how to write JavaScript or Java, so that's kind of been my stopping point. So what we're gonna do here is go download Jamboree. We're doing this real time. We have Windows Subsystem for Linux enabled. You don't even need Windows Subsystem for Linux. You just need oh, something's ringing. We just need um, the hardware acceleration. You can do Intel Haxion, but that's not really supported anymore. I would advise against that one. So here we go. We got Jamboree. Only thing you need for administrator is just enabling that Windows subsystem for Linux or the whatever the hardware acceleration is, hypervisor stuff. Once you've done that, you don't really need to do anything else in Windows. This is Windows 11. We're all set up, good to go. So we're gonna go from time. It is 11:34, and we will show you how fast this thing works. RMS runtime mobile security is not working right now. I would like to fix it, but I'm not sure if I have enough time. So we'll see how that goes. Let's run this again. Okay, actually, let me get the latest version I got here. Uh, nope. Um, it's not even on this computer. So give me a second. Okay, so not sure why I changed the path to delete Jambo. So it was in backup Jambo. I don't know why. So anyways, we got it running. I'll kill it, start it from scratch, just to show you how fast this is. So again, time 11:35, right? Right click this, run as PowerShell. You're not going to see this. This is running off to the side here. This will be kind of our logs. We don't even need this anymore. Here's Jamboree coming into focus. So don't need Haxion, don't do that. Just enable hardware acceleration Windows. Burp Suite community. I'm actually going to update this. So let me do some notes, analog notes here. Okay, so I've actually set up notes for me on myself on the side here. So let's kind of start over. We've run it. It's 11:35 still. We'll give us that extra minute. First thing we're going to do is download Burp Suite Community. Now, I should update not to install. Don't install Pro for Community button. Because you don't need Burp Suite Pro unless you have a license. I actually pay out of pocket for Burp Suite Pro. It's what, $600 now? Uh, I mean, I'll support them. I, you know, it's one of the few things I actually pay for outside of local and open source software. This is I'll buy it every few years. Work generally pays for it. This time around they did not, and or I just kept having licensing issues. So I said, you know what, I'll support them, write it off on taxes, whatever. Now, all within this single click, um, we have downloaded Java, a little tiny Java. We have set up the crawler config to be those kind of bypass Cloudflare. It's very weak bypass. I do have some notes on bypass Cloudflare GitHub. I'm gonna check that out now that this project is alive again. We breathed some energy back into it. Now it pulls the certificate locally from Burp Suite. So the way Burp Suite works is it has this little server and this proxies all the connections, right? It man in the middle lets you see that traffic. Normally what you'd have to do is you have to go in here, you have to generate the cert, and you have to pull the cert out, and you'd have to copy it back in and whatever. You don't really need to do all on if you just leave it on loopback. So this is an annoying process you usually have to do and import and export it. Now you just do /burp cert, pull that cert down, and then I have it automatically push and install that certificate locally. So now this certificate is also, and it's optional. It'll bring up a dialog in Windows, and it'll say if you want to install this cert. it'll install that cert so you can use it with the other browsers. You still have to set the proxy settings, which you can do via command line, even if you're on a restricted environment where, for example, Chrome is being pushed out via GPO. So no admin, you have Windows Systems for Linux running. You can do all this without any admin and without any EDR, even CrowdStrike picking any of this up. Crazy sauce, right? So here we go. We're running Burp Suite now, and the next step is just click Start AVD. Now this will pull down the tools, command line tools for Google. It will install Python. It will update pip. It will install the SDK manager stuff. It will also install the licensing files, which is a big binary blob that I actually found from Microsoft that installs the license files for you to run all the tools, essentially, instead of having to accept the license and kind of do some weird stuff. I actually found this from Microsoft's GitHub to accept these licenses, and it's in a big. It's the only weird thing in the entire script is this giant binary blob, which is a zip file that gets extracted from PowerShell into a thing. And you would think EDR would pick up a base 64 encoded binary blob inside of a PowerShell, but no. So I've actually run this on a other EDR other than CrowdStrike, Signal, Signal One, and my phone's blowing up here. Put on quiet. So real time, we're 10 minutes in, we're already starting up the emulator. So within 10 minutes, you have a running Android emulator done. Beautiful stuff. Now, for whatever reason, I had to do this before. I had to run it twice. I don't know if it's like a delay or the emulator is having a delay or something. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. So I'll run the start ADVD again, and this is running on a different computer. So this is the first time I've run Jamboree with the emulator in quite some time on this. Actually, I don't know if I've even run the emulator on this Windows 11 box before. I've run on other Windows 11s. So here's your emulator, right? Don't know why Google Calendar is already up. And so we're good to go. We have a working Android emulator that's ready to go. So first things first, we need to root it. A little tricky. You want to, once it's running, you want to run the root abd magisk. And that will download Magisk. It will ask you what version you want. Just press enter. And we have to do this within 30 seconds. So it's going to push the Magisk install to the current device. Now, if you have ADB issues, it's really all over the board. For example, when I was doing this last night, it said, I don't have, this doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. So now today, it's working perfectly fine because I had physical devices plugged in at some point and then it went all squirrely. So ADB is very testy, but once you get it working and you can do ADB shell without any issues, then you're good to go. Now, this is still missing. The installer looks like can't cd2, whatever, no such file or directory. Zip, no such file or directory. Let's try this again. So we're running the emulator, and we're going to click a root Magisk. We'll try this again. Aborting the script, it says. Excuse me. Oh, sneezy. I'm just going to press enter. Now it's pushed it, so for whatever reason. So you had 30 seconds or 60 seconds to do this. Why is my phone still going off? We're going to install, send via patch, click downloads, and then here's our fake boot, and then click let's go, and it's going to patch it, and then we're done. Now, once you've patched it, you're good to go and you're ready to start. Click back to this window, then hit enter. Now it's doing what it needs to do to install it, and it should automatically shut down. If not, you can hit the shutdown AVD or just hold long press the power button, and I'll show you that here in a bit. Now we've installed Magisk. We need to boot back up. So this is a 3 reboot process. Now we're 3 minutes in. Past 10 minutes, we've got whatever 13 minutes, we already have Magisk installed. 3 minutes to install Magisk and reboot. And now our emulator is being uh, wonky. This is a fairly speedy machine, so obviously if you have a potato, it's going to take a bit. Especially when you're first booting for the first time, it's going to want to update all kinds of stuff. So once you log into, so once you've rebooted, you've installed Magisk, you had the icon up there, you need to do, it'll basically reinstall it again. So you click OK, and it needs to do its own, I don't know what it does when it actually asks you to reboot. It installs Magisk and then it boots and then it needs to do something else. Maybe it's hiding itself and setting up Zygisk, which is the hiding thing to hide root for you to help hide root. Now, the main difference you're going to have to understand with this whole situation is that everything is x86. So if you take an APK that's an ARM64, my brain is melting right now, but I don't. There's compatibility issues. If you take binaries and you try to load them up, APKs, it just depends. There might be libraries that are not compatible with the x86 setup here. So you run Magisk and it doesn't annoy you for any kind of install or anything, you're good to go. So, oh, it just restarted itself. So run it again, and it looks like it's like crashing for whatever reason. So, anyways, it's running and it's happy and it's installed. So our next step is to upload the system cert. Now, this is a bit of a shenanigans to get this to work, and so I made that process easier for you. So we're going to long hold the Wi-Fi settings, go into the Wi-Fi settings, and we have to configure the Wi-Fi. You have to hold it down. I don't even know. It's different every time. And then you hit this little modify button, go down here, go to proxy, manual, proxy, and it tells you right here 10.0.2.2, and then the port is 8080. Then we click save. Now this gets disconnected a fair amount, so you have to watch and make sure it's connected, and sometimes you have to disconnect, reconnect. So once we've done that, we click OK. Now essentially we're telling all the traffic to be managed through, here's our grant. And sometimes that will get messed up and you have to run this basically wipe data, and that wipes the data for the entire thing. I don't know how to fix the ADB once the grant has disappeared from out of Magisk. If you go in here in super user and it says unchecked here, you might not even have anything in here, because it doesn't ever query it and it never shows up. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does it. I haven't had to do it all that much lately. So telling you to restart. It's pushed the cert. We got all green. We're all good. And it's pushed that cert. Essentially, it's installed a Magisk that says trust user certs, and it's installing that and making sure, and it's getting it set up to whatever. So we can hold this, restart. So now we have, in 10 minutes, we have an Android emulator. 3 minutes later, we have Magisk 447. So now it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's almost, what, 20, 30 minutes in? Whatever. Um, we are restarting, and we have a pushed certificate to the device. So once we restart, we should start seeing traffic coming in through here. Basic web checks, you'll see Google pop up, things like that. You'll also see this warning that says, oh, this is by an unknown third party. So basically saying it's a signed certificate. Now here's our disconnected. Now it's connected. So it's weird. Sometimes it disconnects. So this took me a minute to actually figure out. For whatever reason, it's being weird. So the next step is you'll want to actually sign into Google Play. Now there's build prop stuff to make your phone look like a different phone. I never get any of that stuff to work, and I just hope the APK is in the App Store. Um, and so I don't really know how to help you in that regard. See, we see HTTPS stuff in here. We're good. If you just see HTTP, the certificate pinning is not working. So go through that process again, look for any error messages, type it into AI, whatever. So now we have HTTP, HTTPS. We know we're good on Burp Suite with a certificate. So we're going to go ahead and log into Google Play, and I'm going to pause it so you can't see my crappy test credentials. Okay, so I have logged into rmccurry.com Gmail account. This is my test account that I do stuff with. Um, yeah, just skipping all this. um, turning all of the backup stuff off. Now, what you're gonna want to do is just what you're gonna want to do is let this marinate for a while. It takes a while for it to sync up and do its updates and all that stuff. Google Play services. Now, if you want to look, you can click ADB Logcat and watch exactly what it's doing in the background. This is probably the best troubleshooting advice I can give you with Android is forget all the apps, forget all the debug apps or the D whatever my phone or help debloat tools or any of that stuff. Just run ADB Logcat with the like warning and up dialogues, and you can see what is going on. Just let your cell phone sit idle. I've been able to troubleshoot my phone just basically melting because Microsoft 365 was the MDM was in a loop. None of the tools would tell me. It would just say system is using 90% CPU or whatever. Um, I was able to use Logcat and just grep out. You could just feed it to AI or even take samples of it and feed it to AI and it'll tell you. So like all my stuff was like 4 apps. Like it was like 20,000 calls for 365 and the rest was like maybe 100 or 200 or something like that. So you can sit here and kind of watch it marinate for a minute. Again, we'll see random stuff in here, right? Now the cool thing is that I have updated the SSL depinning. Well, at least AI did. And I'm going to try to. It's probably still not ready because when you start typing search, it just like craps out. So so we're gonna just pick a random app here and install it. Coolest part is I do Frida and all the stuff for you. You can run objection manually. I wouldn't recommend that. Most people, what they want to do is run Frida with anti-root and SSL depinning all in one potato. So now I might have broken other SSL depinning stuff with this update, so you can check the older version of the SSL depinning script that's referenced in the thing, which I'll show you in a second here. It's a big all in caps. But right now, it works for this application specifically. Don't ever open the app. And also, if you do open the app and you want to reset everything, force close, wipe the permissions, wipe the storage. And this is when, if you do anything with Zeist or the hiding and you're trying to hide from the whatever and you're trying to do whatever, what the steps you want to do are force stop it, then wipe the storage, clear storage, once you clear storage, importantly, you want to go back. Once it wipes the settings and everything, importantly, you want to go back in here and just allow whatever you want. You can allow everything. Who cares? Um, it's an emulator. Now you can do stuff with camera. I'm not going to get into that. Bypassing Face ID and things like that's not a thing. There's like $100,000 bounties for that. You're not going to figure that out. So here's your all your permissions. The app has not been run. It's nice and clean. Permissions are unlocked and you're ready to go. So once you have your app at first run state, which is what I prefer, you are ready to do SSL depinning. So clear the history. We are now 40, 30, 20 minutes in. I don't even know. Now we click the Frida anti-root SSL depinning. So we've rebooted a few times. Run mobile security doesn't seem to work, but we'll hold that for another day. This is all the work it's doing in the background. It's installing Frida tools. Now, the key here is tracking Frida and making sure Frida has to match the binary for Frida on the phone has to be the right architecture, which is the x86 on this end, and then it has to be the right version. That version has to match the local version you run on the server side. So the server is your Jamboree, essentially, the computer running Jamboree. The binary that you want to run for the phone has to match the architecture on there, and they both have to be the same version, more or less. Most cases you want it to be the same version. So I have this little search bar, which is great. I can add the app names, but I really don't feel like doing that. Y'all can figure out what the app names are. So Hawk, usually it's whatever, but sometimes the app name is weird. It'll be like Mobile Awesomeness, and it's or the name of the company, like Supercell. Um, for example, Clash of Clans is Supercell, not Clash of Clans. You'll never find Clash of Clans as the app name. There used to be a display name in here, and it said no, we're not going to talk about it, but it's a thing. So click OK. I have an AI script that will pull all that stuff for you, and I need to add it to Jamboree. Let's do that. Add app name to Frida selectee thing depending. I'm taking notes as I go here. So we've run the app, and we look down here. We have our API. So we are good to go. We are man in the middle in this traffic. The part that up AI fixed for me was this guy, the OK HTTP3 API stuff. So now you can do whatever you want. Now, what I haven't talked about is probably any of this stuff. I haven't talked about um, the things that you would want to do is RMS. Can't get that to work. Um, Zap, you can run Zap with Burp Suite. So, uh, so right now we have uh, Burp Suite in between the phone and the internet, right? What you can do is add Zap in that whole equation. So you can forward all the traffic from Zap to Burp, and then Burp can preserve and Zap can be in cahoots together. So you can tell Zap to be the proxy for Burp. So anything you do in Zap goes through Burp, and then if you want to do extra cool stuff, you can use Burp. And if you want to do general scans, active easy scanning stuff that you don't have in Burp, then you can do it there. And if you want to do some like inspection stuff, stuff like intruder, you can kind of make that work with Zap, and there's no limitations on speed. So as long as you can interpret what you need to do intruder or whatever, but you eventually you're going to run into an issue where you need to put in install extensions or whatever. Some extensions are actually free for Burp Suite. So at this point, if you have any issues, one, if you see HTTP, then HTTP in the proxy logs, you've got you've got the proxy set up correctly. If you don't see anything, check your connections, check your proxy settings, make sure that the proxy is working locally, check it with the browser, and then tell the phone to point at 10.0.2.2, port 8080. Try that first. If you see HTTP and no HTTPS, your SSL pinning is broken, and you need to redo the upload SSL pinning. If both of those are working and your man in the middle is not working, your SSL decryption is not working, then you just copy and paste that script in there and copy and paste what's in this, and maybe even upload the APK to a third-party site, analyze it, and it'll tell you what the SSL depending is. If you can figure out what the SSL pinning is using, you can probably have AI write a script to fix it. So that was kind of interesting for me. This is, like I said, this has probably been my problem for the past 2 years, is the SSL depending hasn't been working because there's newer versions of it, and the one I had was from 2020 or something, 2021. Um, Next is kind of hiding from root, um, root bypassing, things like that. There's guides online how to use to do that. I will go into kind of a speed run of it. What you're looking for is the home. It's under home, possibly? No, settings. And there's a bunch of stuff you can do in here that sort of more or less doesn't really work for me. You can hide the Magisk app. Seamless host is for ad blocking, but the Zygist is the thing you want to look. Um, I've had to do the Google Play Store, reset the Google Play Store, and get the man in the middle working with a Play Store, and sometimes that doesn't really work. Um, I haven't been able to get this to work very well once root has been detected. But I guess the idea is that once you get this working, you're pretty much good to go. So like here's our like deny list, um, where we can configure stuff we want to not be SSL'd, um, or not be detected. And I don't know how this works. I think a lot of times if you're getting messages like, root detected or whatever, it's detecting the emulator because I don't have build props set up. And there's build prop stuff. I've messed with it. I've not been able to get it to work. Maybe I could take a revisit if somebody wants me to. But as it stands, if it's this app doesn't really care, but if you have like a banking app or whatever, the instant you run it, it's going to say, "Oh, I found an emulator," or "Oh, I found root." And once you start talking about bypassing root, that's when things get difficult. But you can always load it up in RMS, which doesn't work right now, but you can always load it up in RMS and get that going. So actually, we're going to try RMS on this workstation here. This is a different computer. We have Frida working. Um, so we're checking, updating npm. We've downloaded Node pretty quickly. Um, RMS hasn't been updated in quite some time now, so it's kind of an abandoned project. But I don't know what the kids are using for this stuff. So I'm still using RMS, and it's pretty powerful. You can pretty much do everything you need to do. The problem is again, is this connectivity issue here. So I can come in here and put in um, a different thing. Get rid of this, type USB, and click save, and I still get this error that says, you are the you can't it can't see the what was it, big monitor. It can't see the phone no matter what I do. Even though Frida works and I just did SSL depinning, it works perfectly fine. And at some point in time, the device or configuration or the way this works has changed, and now all I'm getting is error unable to communicate. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It might be a matter of the wrong package to load to check for classes. But even if I clear these both out, I still get the same like can't find disconnected issue. So not sure what's going on there. But that's your next step is to load it up in RMS and see if you can start looking at the data. Um, that's pretty much it. Um, oh yeah, your copy and paste your keyboard. That's all part of the setup. You can do stuff with camera, which is in here, recording and playback, or where is it? Somewhere displays camera. Somewhere there's camera. Um, if I remember correctly, I had to do some stuff with cameras, and it's a bit weird. I did emulate that, but I don't see it in here. Screen record, macro playback, cellular camera. Here we go. Yeah, it's not working. But camera is a different beast altogether. I'm gonna say stuff where you set up the camera is inside of one of these folders. Okay, yeah, I will look at the script, but the hardware front and hardware back are supposed to be these two guys. I have the script replace back with camera back webcam 0 and 1. So yeah, that should be correct. Um, it normally it that information is not in there. So let's see. I think that's actually taking a screenshot. So let's go to camera. Take whatever, don't care. Yeah, so now we've got this weird test image thing that I don't know if that's supposed to be like that. That's probably, oh, no webcam source to render. So it's like all angry. So it's usually changing this, um, the config to something like webcam 0, 1, 2, 3 is how you get the webcam to work. Um, and it's a whole nightmare of trying to get that set up. Anyways, you're good to go. You're good to start man in the middling and looking at the traffic and going crazy.